Lawyers of Reddit, which fictional villain would you have the easiest time defending? Def Lex Luthor. 99% of the time uses henchmen who won't talk and he can pay my exorbitant bills. Dr. Doofenshmirtz. All of his inventions ultimately only end up stealing or damaging the creations of two kids, so he could probably be let out with a theft charge. Really, he's just a lonely, unloved man trying to be seen in the world. Good thing he has his therapy platypus. The Wicked Witch of the West. She was angry at Dorothy, but then again Dorothy dropped a house on her sister and then grave robbed the witch's sister's body, with Glinda's help. The shoes were rightfully the witch's anyway, presuming she was her sister's only heir and her sister died intestate. All the witch wanted was for Dorothy to apologize and return the slippers she stole. Everything else that happened was the result of the witch's reasonable attempts to defend herself and her property against Dorothy's killing, theft, and trespass. Does Dr. Doom need legal defense? As the ruler of his own country, does diplomatic immunity cover all of his actions? When I was a kid I remember being devastated in the movie Big Daddy when the social worker took Zack and Cody away from Adam Sandler, but after watching it again as an adult, although still sad, I'm thinking yay of fucking course they're going to take him away from this stranger. So the social worker from Big Daddy is a layup case. Lawyer here. Light from Death Note. The guy likes to write names of dead people in a notebook, so what? Morbid hobby but not illegal. I don't think it's possible to establish a cause-effect nexus between writing a name and people dying. And saying well, it's magic will not hold in court. Krunk from Emperor's New Groove. He does technically kidnap Kuzco but I think we could get his sentence way reduced. I think he could charm the jury. Or completely blow up his own case in the stand. It could be a fun surprise. Yanal, but Gaston. The Beast is basically kidnapping people and you can argue he is violent. Heck, the entire village was on Gaston's side and would acquit him. Robbie Rotten. I mean, his crimes mostly just aren't. Edit, did none of you see the word mostly? Most of the old school Scooby-Doo villains. They didn't really do anything other than scare people off of private property. Define easiest time defending. If you define it as I think they have an easy case to win then probably Gaston since hunting a beast that is a threat to members of your town isn't a crime. Remember Beast did lock up Belle's dad and there's no reason to believe that Beast couldn't go evil again during the inevitable divorce. If you mean the one I'm going to most enjoy defending then pick the richest one. It's a criminal client. Write me a check and don't call me every 10 damn minutes from the jail and I'm a happy camper. Mojo Jojo. It's kind of scary how little of what went on in the Truman Show would actually be illegal in the real world. There's a few fringe cases, most notably actively preventing Truman from leaving once he realized he was in a fake world and expressed a desire to escape, but pretty much everything up to that point is very legal, and it would be hard to press charges against the director, or anyone else, for the basic premise of raising a child in a reality show without their knowledge. I want to defend the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park. Smaug. He had to have earned squatters' rights to be considered an adverse possessor of the property after all that time. And the House of Durin did abandon the property. I think he had a right to defend his home. Edit, plus statute of limitations on that whole burning the city thing when he first arrived. Edit 2, you are all correct about adverse possession. Corrected and thank you. Ursula, that was freedom of contract all day. Probably Palpatine. Republic law doesn't apply because he can bend it. Also as Supreme Chancellor he probably has immunity. Imperial law doesn't apply either because I assume he is untouchable there. And real-world law could also be tricky. All his dirty work was done by his students who are conveniently dead. Good luck proving they did anything on his orders. Being a Sith Lord isn't a crime because freedom of religion. His fight against the Jedi was self-defense as it was an attack against him with religious motives. Even the killing of Hugo Damask would be impossible to prove as there were no witnesses and nobody even know they were on Coruscant together. And the creation of the Empire was approved by the Senate. He didn't even abduct Maul, he was given to him. The most realistic thing would be conspiracy to destroy the Republic or something. But it sounds like a conspiracy theory to claim there was this big Sith rule of two thing going on over centuries. And even if it got to trial somehow if it is a jury trial the opposition would have a very hard time. Not a villain, but a scruffy-looking scoundrel, Han Solo. Doesn't matter if he shot Greedo first, it was self-defense. At least it would be where I live, your state's laws may vary. Greedo was the one who pulled a gun on Han. Greedo was abducting Han against his will to take to Jabba, a shot-caller/mob boss on Tatooine. While Han had debts to Jabba, owing someone money isn't necessarily a crime. As a lawyer, I can guarantee that a Catwoman would present well to a jury. She can even win over Batman. Catwoman never kills, and she's definitely not evil. She mostly commits property crimes and does an occasional good deed. Catwoman also has a tragic and sympathetic backstory. Depending which version you read, she suffered from catastrophic head injuries, been forced into, and escaped from, the sex trade as well as a violent pimp. Growing up, Catwoman lost both her parents, including an abusive father, to suicide and alcohol. She was homeless at times and also confined to harsh conditions at an orphanage. Despite her tough circumstances, she would always go to great lengths to protect her younger sister. These days, she's just trying to get by in a cold, cruel world. And exposing corruption in the process. Easy acquittal. Tougher but maybe possible to get her a medal for civic achievement. The Joker. Your Honor, my client, who is clearly suffering from schizophrenic delusions and various other mental issues, was punched in the face by a billionaire in a rubber gimp suit. And worse, the Gotham City Police Commissioner asked him to do it. Rumpelstiltskin did nothing wrong. Is there a mute supervillain? Yellow Jacket from Ant-Man. He killed one dude, but there's zero evidence of that. All he did was use his own company's research to try to create a new weapon. Maybe not particularly moral, but he didn't do anything wrong until Lang and Pym stole from him and destroyed his entire office building. After that he did some property damage, but Pym even said that the shrinking tech could affect his mind, so there's a completely reasonable defense that his behavior was affected beyond what he's aware of. Furthermore, since Pym created the tech and knew full well that it could affect the mind and didn't do anything to warn Darren Cross about it, it's really his fault. In my jurisdiction, I would say Damien from The Omen. Minimum age for delinquency adjudication is 12 and in the first movie he's 5, so he couldn't be tried for any of his evil doings. Scar. Yes, he murdered his brother, attempted murdered his nephew, turned his entire family into slavery, but he's a cat. Just show some of his baby picture to the jury, a few video of him trying to eat Zazu, and after a few he would walk as a free cat. The evil stepmother from Cinderella. The worst thing she did was make Cinderella work a lot, but if she's old enough to marry, then she's old enough to help around the house. Not a lawyer but Sauron. He was simply trying to get a treasure that was stolen from him while employing orcs whom the rest of the races are very racist towards. Edit. I know Sauron is guilty and of all the atrocities Jay did, I just had to say this as a member of r/Sorn did nothing wrong. I feel like Ganondorf would be a nice pick. According to the laws of the Hylian world, he's just supposed to be doing evil stuff all the time. The curse has to be fulfilled throughout generations. There's always a hero, an evil person and a goddess. Kinda like a contract, huh? Ursula. Basic contract action. Ariel may have been a minor, but that only makes the contract voidable. Not invalid. At no point did Ariel ask to void the contract. Instead, her father decided to sign his own contract. King Triton is a sophisticated party who entered into a binding contract. King Triton was the one who was willing to throw his kingdom away to bail out his favorite daughter. Tulkinghorn from Bleak House, Old Man Potter from It's a Wonderful Life. Cruella de Vil. I would never take a case involving Dr. House or Sherlock Holmes though. The Bears in Goldilocks. Or is Goldilocks the villain here? But the bad guy attorney in B-movie would have killed that case if any actual lawyering occurred. He went to court against a bug and an insane woman. I think it would be fun defending Saul, from Better Call Saul. Willy Wonka. That release was fucking ironclad. Cruella de Vil, she would be a Instagram fashion sensation. She wouldn't need defending now because no one knows the shady behind the scenes of even the biggest fashion companies. What's 101 Dalmatians compared to a few sweatshops? Hans from Frozen. I'm not a lawyer, but he basically wanted to legally become ruler of a kingdom through marriage. You could make a credible case that Elsa was a threat to the kingdom, and that she was unfit to rule since she accidentally harmed her own sister. Hans going after her was an effort to protect the kingdom. He even stopped a henchman from shooting her in the chest, so he was clearly trying to use the least amount of violence necessary. I'm not a lawyer, but Jason Voorhees is defending himself from trespassers. Thanos, because he did nothing wrong. Not an answer. Just wanted to say that I love how creative this question is, lol. Not a lawyer but Umbridge from Harry Potter because she never committed a single crime. In fact, she changed rules and laws specifically so she could do what she did. The worst action she committed was making Harry write with a quill that scarred him. However, we know from Filch that capital, edit, I meant corporal, Punishment within schools is still allowed in the wizarding world, and the only reason it doesn't continue at Hogwarts is because Dumbledore doesn't allow it. With Dumbledore gone, the headmistress is well within her rights to bring back the practice. Ed Rooney from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He's just trying to do his job. I would not want to defend the actor who played him, of course. Also, basically every evil rich land developer, It's a Wonderful Life, Caddyshack, Batteries Not Included, the Voggans from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. The law already protects those guys. It'd be like shooting fish in a barrel. I think this is the best post I've seen on this sub. Nice. Norman Bates. Could not be an easier insanity plea. And if I had to go to trial, I could just find one juror who hated his mother. Professor Pig from Batman Dude is actually crazier than the Joker. Squidward, he just wanted calm life with clarinet. But SpongeBob and Patrick kept annoying him. Not giving a chill and calm life. Dr. Doofenshmirtz. Bucky Barnes/Winter Soldier. I think the insanity defense, though it's not called that anymore, would actually apply here. Get a group of certified expert psychiatrists and doctors together, get their testimony/depositions. Set a competency hearing. In the event he is deemed competent, use witness testimony and the USSR/Hydra documentation to prove he wasn't in charge of his actions. Boom. Done. The Joker, because I just play the insanity card and am not even a lawyer. Sid from Toy Story's a sadistic kid, but he's a juvenile. And homicide of toys isn't a thing, so that's always helpful. Kreese from Karate Kid and Cobra Kai. No defense needed since law enforcement basically doesn't exist in that universe. Any WandaVision viewing lawyers around? Greater than what did Hayward even get arrested over? Seemed like he did his director of a government defense agency job. Less than. Agatha Harkness. What did she do that was so wrong, exactly? The worst I can come up with is that she tried to stop someone with a notoriously out-of-control, destructive history from continuing to mind rape an entire town of people who were clearly traumatized by it. If you count Doofenshmirtz as a villain, then he really would be the easiest. I mean, he didn't do anything lasting. Gus Fring, because he would absolutely have his alibis and defense plan schemed down to the most minute detail. All he would need would be an earnest and detail-oriented storyteller, and I can do that. Darth Vader killed the younglings. I'm having trouble with some of these, like Smaug or Palpatine or the Wicked Witch of the West. What legal system is claiming jurisdiction over these folks? What statutes govern in the locations of their supposed crimes? Yanal, but the devil from Cuphead? Contract action. Otto Octavius, aka Doc Ock. The neural interface affected his mind, he couldn't do much about it. It was his gallium armor that harmed people, not him. I'm not actually a lawyer, but this would be hard to go up against, right? Francis from Deadpool, who does human testing on Wade Wilson and turns him into a mutant. Technically he signed up for it, so it wasn't really Francis's fault. Also not a lawyer. This is the first time I've read every comment in a sub. Great question up. Any family member who brought a wrongful death suit against Luke Skywalker, or the Rebel Alliance, for the deaths caused by blowing up the Death Star. Revenge is not a defense to murder. Thank you guys for watching, I really hope you all enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe and like the video. See you soon.